Abigail Carter sat in her university lecture hall, laser focused on the professor's talk about fungal pathogens. Finals were near, and her scholarship depended on every detail. But when she raised her hand to answer a question, her sleeve slipped, revealing 7 perfect, circular holes in her arm. The room fell silent. Professor Caldwell dropped his marker, face pale. "Evacuate now. Everyone out," he shouted as alarms blared. Students panicked and scattered. Abby stood frozen, while hazmat teams swarmed the building. "Don't touch anyone," a guard yelled. In that instant, Abby's simple gesture exposed something terrifying. What had infected her? Why did Caldwell react like he'd seen it before? And what secrets had just been uncovered? Abigail Carter never sought the spotlight. Growing up in Elmwood, where empty storefronts outnumbered open ones, she learned early that hard work was her only way out. Her mother, Margaret, juggled shifts at Wilson's Market and the Elmwood Diner, while her father, Robert, battled chronic pain from a heart attack that had crushed their finances. "You're smarter than this place," he'd say, watching her study under flickering kitchen lights. When Westfield University offered her a merit scholarship, it was a lifeline, a chance to escape the weight of Elmwood's decline. At Westfield, Abby thrived despite the odds. She maintained a perfect GPA, worked 20 hours a week in the university lab, and sent spare cash home for her father's prescriptions. Professor Walter Caldwell, a microbiology legend, noticed her sharp mind in his freshman class. When he offered her a research assistant role, a position usually reserved for juniors, she called her mother, voice trembling with pride. "It's an honor, Mom." But Abby's world was far from her classmates. While they posted about vacation homes, she biked through snowy Massachusetts winters to save bus fare. 2 nights before the evacuation, Abby was alone in Caldwell's lab, cataloging fungal samples from his Brazilian expeditions. The clock read 2:17 a.m. when she reached for a container labeled Trichophyton variant, Brazil, 1992. Exhaustion dulled her focus, and her elbow nudged her notebook, causing a tiny spill. Just a few drops. She followed protocol, sprayed disinfectant, wiped the counter, checked her gloves. A small tear near her wrist caught her eye. "Great," she muttered, scrubbing her hands for 20 seconds and donning fresh gloves. It seemed minor, forgettable. The next morning, rushing to an exam, she noticed faint indentations on her forearm. Pressure marks, she thought, from falling asleep on her desk. By evening, they hadn't faded. 7 perfect circles, pencil eraser size, lined up in eerie precision. No pain, no redness, just unsettling symmetry. "Maybe I'll check it tomorrow," she decided, bandaging them and pulling on a sweater. Finals were days away. Her scholarship demanded perfection. She couldn't afford distractions. But in Caldwell's lecture the next day, her raised hand changed everything. The bandage slipped, exposing the marks. Caldwell's reaction, panic so raw it silenced the room, told her these weren't just marks. As alarms blared and hazmat teams closed in, Abby's mind raced. Had that tiny spill done this? And why did Caldwell whisper, "I'm sorry, but whatever touched you could kill us all"? Viewers, have you ever dismissed something small, a scratch, a moment, that later turned your world upside down? Let's follow Abby as the truth begins to unravel. The conference room, now a makeshift isolation unit, felt like a sterile cage. Plastic sheeting sealed the doors, and a TV blared news of the Westfield biological hazard. Abby sat alone, her phone buzzing in a biohazard bag. Texts from classmates, news alerts, and her mother's frantic messages piled up. Through the glass, she saw hazmat-suited figures setting up equipment. The circular holes on her arm, deeper now, seemed to pulse under the fluorescent lights, though they remained painless. Dr. Melissa Rivera's voice crackled through the intercom. "Miss Carter, I'm with the CDC. How are you feeling?" Abby glanced at her arm. "Physically fine. But what is this?" Rivera's pause was heavy. "Professor Caldwell believes it's a rare fungal infection he saw in Brazil 30 years ago. It killed 17 people before containment." The words hit like a physical blow. Abby's mind flashed to her mother, who'd soon see her daughter's face on the news, and her scholarship, now at risk as chaos engulfed her life. Hazmat-clad doctors entered, Caldwell among them. His hands trembled as he swabbed her arm. "In Brazil," he said, voice muffled, "the markings appear within 48 hours of exposure, deepening rapidly. We're better equipped now." But his eyes betrayed fear. As they photographed the lesions, Abby asked, "How did I get this?" Caldwell hesitated. "The sample you handled 2 nights ago. There must have been a breach." Her heart sank. That tiny glove tear. Had her exhaustion cost her everything? Outside, the news frenzy grew. Jessica Walsh, a classmate whose family funded half the campus, posted videos narrating the evacuation with dramatic flair. "They're saying it's a deadly fungus." Her Instagram story racked up thousands of views, turning Abby's private nightmare into a public spectacle. A call from Dean Thompson offered assurances. Her scholarship was safe, medical costs covered. But his polished tone hinted at damage control. Was the university protecting her or itself? As Abby spoke with her mother via video call, Margaret's worry was palpable. "They don't call the CDC for nothing, Abby. What's really happening?" Abby forced calm. "They're treating it, Mom. I'll be okay." But Margaret was already packing. "I'm coming. You're not facing this alone." Abby's heart ached. She knew every day her mother missed work pushed their family deeper into debt. By evening, Dr. Helen Whitmore, a CDC specialist, started for antifungals. "We have 36 hours before it could hit deeper tissue," she warned. "After that, nerve damage is a risk." Abby stared at the lesions, now like drill holes in her skin. How had a late-night lab session led to this? And why was Jessica's video framing her as the careless student who caused a campus lockdown? Viewers, when have you felt your story twisted by someone else's narrative? Let's keep digging as Abby's fight for truth intensifies. 5 days into her hospital stay, Abby's world shifted again. The lesion stabilized, but the pressure didn't. A non-disclosure agreement from the university arrived, tying her scholarship and medical coverage to silence about lab protocols. Meanwhile, Jessica Walsh's father, Lawrence, a major donor, pushed a narrative blaming Abby's inexperience as a scholarship student. His influence loomed, and Abby felt the weight of institutional power. Refusing the NDA risked everything: her education, her family's fragile finances. But signing felt like surrendering her truth. Then a bombshell. Dr. Alan Mercer, a CDC mycologist, burst into a room with Professor Caldwell and Dr. Whitmore. "The fungus isn't from the lab," Mercer announced. Genetic sequencing revealed it wasn't Caldwell's stored sample, but a related strain from an environmental source. Abby's mind raced. "So, the glove tear didn't cause this?" Mercer shook his head. "No. This fungus was growing outside the lab, likely for years." "But where?" Abby retraced her steps. Classes, library, dorm, and rise and grind, she said. "The coffee shop off campus. I was there the day before the symptoms." The CDC descended on Rise and Grind, owned by none other than Lawrence Walsh. Tests confirmed the fungus in their wooden cold brew barrels, imported from Brazil. The irony was sharp. Jessica's family business, not Abby's lab work, had caused her infection. The university withdrew the NDA, and Dean Thompson called with an unconditional support package: scholarship, medical costs, and a family stipend. "We failed to challenge false narratives about you," he admitted. "Caldwell's quick action saved you from worse." Abby's relief was tempered by anger. Jessica's videos had painted her as reckless, yet the Walsh family faced scrutiny now. By her discharge, the story had exploded. The CDC issued advisories on artisanal coffee processes, and Rise and Grind closed. Jessica texted an apology, citing her father's panic. Abby agreed to meet later, sensing a chance for closure. Her scars, now silvery, were no longer just marks of trauma, but symbols of resilience. She co-authored a New England Journal of Medicine paper, shaping the scientific record. Back on campus, she spoke at orientation, urging freshmen to question boldly. The Carter Opportunity Scholars Program, funded partly by a coffee supplier settlement, now supported students like her. As Abby walked to class, a tour guide's voice drifted over. This is where Abby Carter's case sparked national safety reforms. She smiled. The institution had woven her story into its legacy, but her truth, documented in scars and scholarship, remained hers. Viewers, when has an unexpected twist redefined your story? How did you reclaim it? Abigail Carter's raised hand in a classroom didn't just expose a rare fungus. It exposed the fragility of systems we trust and the power of one voice to shift them. From a terrified student in isolation to a published researcher shaping safety reforms, Abby's journey shows how detours can become destinations. Her scars, once symbols of fear, now mark her as a catalyst for change, reminding us that truth, though buried under institutional weight or social media spin, can emerge through persistence. Margaret's fierce love, Caldwell's accountability, and even Jessica's eventual remorse reveal the human threads in this scientific drama. But the question lingers: what small choice in your life, a raised hand, a dismissed mark, might still ripple outward, waiting for you to claim its meaning? Share your story below, along with your city. Let's keep uncovering the truth together.